Yeah, hey, this is in C, not assembly. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Yeah, I code most of it in C, a little bit in assembly. My previous games were probably like 90 to 95% C, a little bit of assembly. This one's probably closer to like 60-40, a little bit more C than assembly, but a lot more assembly than previous projects, just for performance reasons. Yeah, for things that aren't really performance critical, like puzzle games, single screen, not a lot of scrolling, stuff like that, C is definitely uh, viable. For this game, Super Sunny World, it's a platformer, a lot more performance critical code. It's a little tougher. You can still probably get away with most of it, I think, if you're willing to make design compromises, like the number of enemies, that kind of thing. Still definitely doable. You can have a scrolling platforming engine for sure and see. It's just you'll start to hit limits once you get a couple enemies on screen, stuff like that. But yeah, it's good. It's really good. And this is like the least optimized compiler. There's more optimized compilers now. This is just kind of what I'm familiar with, and because it's unoptimized, I kind of prefer it in a way because when I'll show you real quick. When I'm debugging, the actual like C code um, is actually debuggable because it doesn't do a ton of optimizations. You can actually step through it. Whereas if I'm using a more advanced compiler, you'll get it'll just compile it so much that it's basically unreadable. The assembly doesn't line up with the code itself, but this it's basically one to one. Each line of code comes with a chunk of assembly. You can just walk through it one by one. Yeah, jumps around exactly. Oh, that's cool. You made an yeah. I find the idea of writing an emulator is pretty like black magic for me still. I don't. Yeah, I've never even attempted it. Yeah, I think I could probably make an emulator. I feel like at this point though, it might be a little bit like just following a tutorial. There's so much documentation and stuff. And yeah, I don't know how interesting it would be because I wouldn't go through the effort of really figuring it out myself. Most likely, I'd just be following some tutorial, and then at the end of it, I'd probably have a subpar emulator. But it might be cool. I don't know. I am kind of getting into it a little bit because of I want to release Super Sunny World for the PC, and I have a couple avenues, but one of them is is wrapping it in an emulator. But to do that, I kind of need to learn a bit. I'm using an open source emulator, but it takes a little bit of kind of know how to get it running. I'll have to debug it and stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get into it. Trying to use like trying to have it zoomed in so that it's a little bit more readable on stream, but it's like I don't know. It's really hard. I'm just trying to resize this window and I can't do it. So I'll have to compromise a little. That's cool. So you wrote the emulator from just reading the docs. Yeah, I don't think I have the interest to kind of go all in like that, but that's really cool. Um, yeah. So right now I'm just working on this. In the game, there's this concept that as you're progressing through the game, I'll show real quick. Like Mario, you collect coins. In this game, it's these flower coins. So the idea is there's a meta progression that as you go through the game, you're collecting those coins, and then when you come back to the main menu, those flower coins can be exchanged for store coins. So when you go into the store, it does this conversion. Every 50 flower coins you've collected gets converted into one store coin, and then you can use those coins to buy in-game items. Or not in-game items, sorry, like in-game but out of gameplay collectibles. So I'm just moving it around a bit, trying to make it a bit easier to understand. Some new art. So I'm almost done that feature now, and I just need to just working on the UX a little. I'm moving it so that you do that exchange as you enter the store, which I think will be more logical to the user. And then I think the last thing I'm going to do is put like a little like red dot on the store when you have coins queued up, kind of like a unread email kind of idea. So I think that's the last thing, and then I'll basically be done with this feature. But I think I just noticed a bug, so I need to. I'm supposed to go through here and then go straight to the store, but it's going to the main menu, which is wrong. And oh, I know why. Because this state assumes that you're going to the main menu after. Oh, wait, that was right. I don't know. it was wrong. Yeah, the whole menu system is just a giant state machine. It's pretty simple, and all the UI, which is kind of ironic because my day job is I work on a UI team, but it's like as simple as can be. I didn't invest any time into making it kind of extensible, so I have some pretty nasty code in here that's just giant if statements of am I on item 1, am I on item 2, am I on item 3, okay, do this code. So it's all right though. The actual number of menus in the game is very, very small. It's grown bigger than I originally intended, but it's still pretty doable. It's easy to debug, and it's a little bit more, it's more performant this way. It's just straight logic, nothing's abstracted or anything like that. Yeah, so you can write in C++ as well. When I was talking earlier about the more performance friendly compilers, one of the big ones is LLVM MOS, which compiles to 6502 assembly. And it's apparently, yeah, quite performant. And then there's, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, there's something called NESFAB, which isn't C or C++, but it's its own language built for the NES. And it's super performant. It's much, much closer to writing assembly, but it's still somewhat, well, it's very readable. There's just some, it's not like a straight, like most languages I find, you can kind of jump around between them. They're more or less the same. This is quite different than anything I've ever worked with. But it's really cool because it's designed for the NES. It's not portable at all. There, working. Nice. Yeah, so I think last thing I need to do is just put a little bang on the UI there. But I don't really have a graphic for it, I don't think. I'm sure I can draw a circle though. I hope I can draw a circle. Yeah, I used to work at EA. I mean, that was like 15 plus years ago at this point. I don't know how to ban people from a stream. Move. Oh, that removes message. Oh yeah, okay. Right, you were at was it Montreal? Yeah, Montreal. On the Army of Two team, right? Yeah, that's cool. Just gotta remember where these sprites get loaded. Boom. Nailed it. No, it's cool. You're not distracting me. I mean, I'm on here to share what I'm doing for an hour or so, so it's no problem. If you so right now I'm just I was just saying before I'm trying to this I have a little store in the game, and when you have money to spend, or basically when you have money queued up to be exchanged for coins, I want to put a little like unread notification in the on the menu item here. So that's kind of the last part of this feature I'm working on. Hey Jordy. Hey Kando. Um, hey Mohef. I'm basically on like the last little bit of development, so pretty much the whole game's done. Um, I'm just working on the meta progression side of things, so collectibles outside of game, stuff like that. And then there's a couple enemies I'm not super happy with that I want to replace, but somewhat optional. So I'm almost to the point where I can um, start a beta for the game. And once I get to beta, the game's more or less done. I won't start a beta until I think I have something that's shippable. And then usually with my games, I go through about 3 or 4 beta builds as people report bugs and I fix them. But generally, it's pretty minor stuff going in at that point. So beta will probably last a month or so, and then we'll start pre-orders for the game. I do want to. We're going to do some kind of pre-production on it so that the time between the pre-order and shipping is not too long. It'll still probably be a couple months at least, but I don't want it to be a year like my last game, or like Witch and Wiz was. So, yeah, I'm gonna spend some. I'm not gonna put the pre-orders up until we're pretty much got everything locked down. And the moment the pre-order window ends, we can go into production right away, as opposed to then start figuring out how everything's gonna work. So in the end, it's the same amount of time. It just means less time of sitting, having paid and waiting for the game. The time between paying and getting the game will be shorter, but the time between now and getting the game will basically be the same, if that makes sense. Yeah, Jordy, I do have a publishing deal already, but I haven't announced it yet, so I'm not saying too much. But yeah, we're already in the works. I just have to basically finish the game so that I can send them the final ROM and they can do some test batches and stuff. And we got some of the um, like extras and all that stuff starting to work out. So I'm pretty happy. It's going to be pretty cool, I think. Nothing too extravagant or anything like that. The market's kind of cooled down a bit since Witch and Whiz. At that point, it was kind of everything was going gangbusters. It's not really like that anymore, but should still be really cool. But like one thing I'm hoping to do is I'm going to have two versions of the game. One will be basically a classic NES package, so classic cardboard box, gray shell, just your standard kind of NES thing. Because I know with Witch and Whiz, I had people reach out and say, "Hey, can you just send me the sticker so that I can swap it for a gray shell?" Stuff like that. They want the kind of really, really traditional experience, not even colored shells. So I'm gonna have one version that'll basically be considered the standard edition, and then a collector's edition that's a little bit more modern. It's got some changes to it, so it should be pretty cool. But still, like, it's not gonna be anything super different, but it'll have like a unique shell and maybe some different packaging and some pack-ins and stuff like that. Yeah, it's MMC3. So it's huge though. It's basically let me see what I'm at these days. I think it's 768 kilobytes at this point. Yeah. So you can see, like, I don't know if this means anything to people, but this is basically how the memory is used up. The green is code. The blue, which is the second half, is art. So the art is almost full, and the last three banks of art are essentially already like accounted for. I'm just waiting for the art to come in. So pretty much the 256K of art will be full. The code is not even really close. I still have like 8 banks or 9 banks here that are untouched. And that's just because basically once you hit, like, you have to double the size every time. I can't just add like 1 or 2 banks at the end. So once I hit kind of this point, I basically just have to double the size, even though I don't need double the space. So it's kind of nice because it doesn't really affect the price too much at this point. But it makes my life a lot easier. And it's not close enough that I could really squeeze it all in. Like, you can see some of these have gaps in them where I could squeeze in some extra code. I think this is music, so I might music and sound effects, so I'll probably fill that up. But yeah, it's not to the. I would have to like really move mountains to get this down to 256 kilobytes of code, so it's just not worth it. It's not worth the effort, basically. Yeah, so it's MMC3. I think it's the same as Kirby. I feel like Kirby might have been this big, but maybe it was only 512. I can't remember. Maybe somebody in the chat knows. Yeah, is that full size, Puke? Is that the max you can go in most emulators? So Daru, you were asking, will the special card have a super sunny LED inside that shines bright when you play? That'd be cool. No, nothing, but it's not going to be that extravagant. I'm not super into like really out there collector's editions, so yeah, it'll be something much more mundane than that. Unfortunately, that's a cool idea though. If you got a suntan playing the game. And then Jordy, you were saying NES Space Checker. Oh yeah, so NES Space Checker. That, yeah, basically you load up a ROM, and it tells you like how it's laid out, and how much of the memory is used, and you can spot like patterns and stuff. Like you can see in PRG1 here, there's obviously something going on there. It's most likely like, and over here, in OF, so some sort of like data, most likely. And that's, yeah, I think Shiru built this. I'm not 100% sure though. I see. Yeah, so Puke's saying that there's an oversized MMC3, but that's only an emulation. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know enough about hardware to understand why it would be an issue. Or you have to add more pins. I see. Oh, because you go out of the address space or something. Okay, yeah, it's a Shiro tool. Yeah, Jordy, you're talking about like what it must have been like without the tools. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I'm so much. I have so much. I don't know what the respect for any the people who are making games of like Kirby and Mega Man and Mario Brothers like at that level back then. It must have just been brutal. Half the stuff was probably barely understood. Like I spent 3 hours yesterday trying to. I can kind of show it by running in PAL. Uh, so like these kind of glitches at the bottom. I spent like 3 hours yesterday trying to solve not this bad, like just one hair of a thing. So, and I have all the documentation, breakdown, emulator. I can go like dot by dot in the event viewer, see like what's happening, and it still took me hours to figure it out. So I look at something like Mega Man 3 with the little glitch on the robot selection screen and stuff like that. I think, yeah, I would have been for sure. I would have left that in. There's no way I'm going to be able to figure that out without a debugger, emulator, and stuff like that. But this is kind of an interesting problem. I'm kind of at a crossroads with the PAL version of the game. I have to decide if I'm going to go through with it or not, and if it's worth it because um, there's a lot of timing issues, stuff like this. So anywhere that I have like really um, critical timing related code, it's going to be an issue on PAL. And then there's also the obvious like slowdown, like this is running at 70% speed or whatever it is, 90% speed. Um, so fixing all the physics, the music works properly in PAL, so that's cool. But um, anyway, most all my games up to this point ran on PAL and NTSC by like hitting the reset 5 times or whatever, like a lot of games. So which would work here, but it looks kind of busted in a way that previous games didn't. So I just don't know if it's worth it. I did a poll, and I think most people aren't playing on PAL anymore. There's a couple kind of hardcore fans. I'm sure they will hate me for saying that, but yeah, I don't know if it's worth it. Or if I just wait and do like an actual PAL release where I spend a month or two like actually digging into this and making it run perfectly for PAL. But all the physics in the game are hard coded, and not making it not hard coded will have a performance impact because all those hard coded numbers will have to become like memory reads, and I'm already struggling with performance. So the idea of introducing all of that lag into the game for really niche of a niche of a niche group, I'm not sure. So anyway, I'm at a crossroads. I'm not really sure what I want to do, but if you have any opinions, I'm happy to hear them. The gun, okay, at least the gun works. I wasn't sure if that actually worked in PAL. I don't think I've ever tested it. I never really test PAL. Yeah, if you guys don't know, the game has zapper support. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor very well, but second player can like shoot enemies and stuff like that. Juggle them. What was that? Yeah, I think you'll probably have a lot of trouble with the PAL stuff. Puke. I can't remember how you're doing the side thing. Oh, I think it's just bank switching. So maybe that's okay as long as it's not super timing critical. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. I don't like I'm not super familiar with the European scene, so I don't know. Like I assume I don't know anything about Europe. I'm not even gonna guess. isn't isn't Ted in Europe though? Is he European or does he just live there right now? Because he might care if he's European. He might push for it. Okay, that's cool to hear, Joseph. Yeah, I figure like in the end, it's probably not going to be a deal breaker if it's not kind of PAL certified. But yeah, it would be a nice little. I get asked about it, so it was nice on the previous project to say, yeah, it'll work. Don't worry about it. But now I kind of be like, well, it'll kind of work, but it'll look like crap. And music sounds fine, but the gameplay is a little slow. I don't know, just complicates things. Yeah, the zapper. So the zapper mode is basically exactly that, Daro. It's for like I call it like the little brother mode. If you played NES as a kid, like often second player would just hold the controller or a zapper pretending they're playing. So I thought it'd be cool if it actually worked and you pick it up and shoot it and it actually kills the enemy on screen. So it's not. It's kind of inspired too by Super Mario Galaxy. I don't know if you played it, but the second player can use the Wiimote to pick up star bits. I think they're called. It's really like it's not a huge. It doesn't have a huge gameplay impact, but it's just something to do while you're waiting. That little flower thing there. So that's one of the meta game things I'm adding. I'll show it here. So every level will have 5 of these hidden like super flowers. So it's just something because the game is meant to be played over and over again, like classic Mario. So I wanted to add some stuff to find beyond just beating the game. So every level will have 5 of these, and maybe controversially, I'm curious what people will think. They are. It does require multiple routes. So this one, for instance, by getting this one, um, I'll be skipping over 2 other flowers. So when I get this one, if you look in the bottom left here, that's the counter for the super hidden coins. So you'll see I've got the 5th, I got the 1st, 2nd, and 5th now. So it means that you have to replay the game multiple times to get all of them, 100% it. So I think some people will find that annoying. And there's something like that I really don't like, which is maybe if I'm trying to speedrun this for 100%, the optimal thing to do right now is to die. Go back to the start of the level because it does remember the collectibles you find. So technically, like the fastest way is probably to get to the last one, die, and then grab those 2 you missed. Keep going. So I don't know how I feel about that, but I did want to make it so that it gives you something to do on multiple playthroughs, and there'll often be times where you'll go through a level and there will be a fork and you'll have a choice of where do I go, or maybe you'll just miss something, like say there's stacks of blocks and you're small, so you know you can't get to the top ones because you can't smash the blocks below it, and you'll have to make a mental note to come back there later. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's pretty fun. I think Mario Deluxe for the Game Boy had something like that. I don't remember exactly. I'm sure like many Mario games have had it. So there, yeah, now I got 100%. Ted is in the UK. Okay, cool. Definitely controversial. Yeah, I don't know. It's intentional though. At least like it won't seem. I hate when stuff like that feels. You see it and you're like, did they actually think this through? Or was it just like they didn't think of how this would impact people? So I am putting thought into it. Hopefully that comes through. But yeah, I think it'll be more fun in the end. The only people I think will be really annoyed by having to do multiple playthroughs are likely speedrunners, and that's pretty niche already. So I think it'll for 99% of players, it'll be more fun to have a reason to explore more areas of the game. And not every level is like that, but some of the levels are quite linear and they don't have branching paths. But others have like a lot of branching paths. Branching paths in the sense that Mario 1 does, where you can go down pipes and end up later in the game. And then there's warp zones and all that stuff. So yeah, like this would be one. Here's one that's hidden. So this one you wouldn't be able to get without being big. So you might, I don't know. You have to come back later. If you were big at this point, you have to come later explore. And the whole point of this is like I really like in Mario 1, which I think the later Mario games miss a bunch, is you go into these areas and there's just hundreds of breakable bricks. And as a kid, I loved exploring that and trying to find secrets. And once in a while, you get really lucky and actually find something in there. Like I think of 4-2, there's the hidden coin block in that huge array of bricks. So I wanted to kind of reward that and make a reason to actually explore all these, or things like this where you're standing on this, and I always would think like, well, what is in there? Especially in Mario One, where this you wouldn't actually be able to find out, but in my game, it's like Mario Three, where it all destroys sides. So I wanted to reward that kind of exploration of like really kind of digging into every block and finding it in the collectibles there. Just a simple way to do that, and something over long term. I would expect that to be kind of the long tail of the game would be 100%ing all the hidden coins. And then to make it easier though, I did add this stat screen so you can go through every level in the game and see this section here is the hidden coins. I need a better names. There's too many coins in this game. Call them super coins. These are the hidden super coins, so you'll be able to go through every level, see which ones you missed. Once you find warp zones, you probably skip some. And then, wow, yeah, I'm glad you like that, Puke. That's basically if you hit the top of the flagpole at the end of the level, you get a wow text. I'm not crazy about the naming or like communicating that concept. It's kind of confusing, but is what it is. And then if you get all that, so this top one, I basically 100%ed 1-1. And when you get 100% of all those, the world will be 100%. King Nick, you're asking about the ROM. Yeah, so nothing's like really set in stone, so take this with a grain of salt, but my intention is the PC version will be like a standalone executable, but will also come with the ROM. So if you want to put it in a EverDrive or whatever, you should be able to. The only reason I'm hesitant is because like I haven't released a game on Steam before, so there's always a chance something goes weird and I'm not able to do it, but I'm fairly confident I can. I've seen how other games do it. I'm also planning to release it on itch, where anything goes, so it'll be available for there for sure. The one I'm not 100% sure about is the physical NES cart, whether that will come with the ROM or not. For Witch and Whiz, I didn't have like, actually no, Witch and Whiz we did distribute the ROM, yeah. But if they were supposed to anyway, Limited Run did that. I sent them a bunch of codes, but when people ask, I usually just send them a code. I'm not big enough for it to actually matter. I get a dozen requests for codes that people say, hey, I bought the game, I never got a code or whatever. I just send it to them. So hopefully I can come up with a way on the physical version of the cartridge to include the ROM. But if not, most likely I'll just say, hey, send me a message and I'll send you a copy. But I don't like it when people have to buy it in multiple places. I think it's a little bit of double dipping unnecessarily. It's not going to make a really big impact to me, but getting the game, if you're going to spend $80+ on the game, I think I can give you a free digital copy. Yeah. So anyway, that's the plan. You should be able to get the ROM one way or another. Yeah, Daru. Yeah, I think like initially it will be difficult to remember kind of what you missed, and I suspect sometimes it'll be like as you go by something, you'll think, oh, I if I'm big, I can probably go in there, or I skipped over that jump and I can't go back. I need to get that next time, and you'll probably forget and then do it again and go, okay, I need to really remember to do that, and then hopefully after you do it once or two or three times, it kind of gets ingrained in your memory, and the next time you're like, okay, I'm going to stop and get this, investigate this area this time. But that's the intention anyway, because this is a game. My intention is that this game is one that you loop. Like there's no, I got to figure out what saving is going to be like, but it's not going to be, it's not likely going to be just go to wherever you want. Like you can't just start on World 4 because you made it there before. It's going to be something like quick saves where you can save and quit, kind of like a Game Boy Advance game or a DS game, something along those lines. But my intention is that you play it over and over again, and that you discover shortcuts and warp zones and stuff like that, and obviously get better at the game. So you will be playing through the levels over and over again. So hopefully that rewards you for that. It makes you feel like you're actually making progress, even if you're not beating the game. What is Sunny's UFC career? Is that a comment on like the fighting games, all the fighting games that she's in? You program the game? No. So Nub was asking if I programmed the game twice for Steam and for NES. So there's a big asterisk on that, which is I haven't made the Steam game yet. So um, yeah, I'm just kind of talking out of my ass right now. But my current plan is that it will be um, the NES game wrapped in an emulator. So my biggest thing with that, I wonder if maybe I can open it up here. Just give me 1 second. Show you what I'm talking about. What did I call this thing? I haven't been really working on it very actively. The NES version's the primary focus right now. Sorry, just 1 second. Nesecutable. That's what I call it. Pretty cool. Is this it? Okay, cool. Yeah. So this is basically a potential PC version. This is like way out of date, the actual game, but this is the NES game running in an emulator. In this case, it's running an old demo I had. But the thing I'm really concerned about is I want the PC version to feel native on the PC. I don't want it to feel like you're running an emulator at all. So things like controller configuration, resolution, all that stuff. I don't want it to be like, oh, I open the Messen menu and change that. I feel like maybe that's okay in the end. I might end up with that, and I'll have to eat my words on that. But that's kind of my goal. Is I want it to feel like an actual native PC game. So there's a lot of work that goes into that. So this is like an emulator. It's an open source emulator. I feel really bad because I wasn't planning to talk about this, but I can't remember the name of it. But it's an open source emulator, and I picked it because it's super simple. Oh, maybe the about section. Oh, it's an NES emulator by Jun Lim, who I reached out to and made sure it was okay that I use it. But it's really like a dead simple emulator, so it's easy to work with. And yeah, I'm hoping that I can kind of take this and turn it into something that feels natural on the PC. I'm also looking at the Syrup SDK. I forget the name of the company, but it's the one that Micromages is using for the PC port, and it's really cool. It's got some awesome stuff. It will most likely be what I use. I think at this point, it's kind of what I'm looking at, but it does things like support widescreen. It's got a whole Lua scripting system to do overlays and stuff like that. So it's really, really slick. So that one's awesome because it's kind of a drop-in solution and it's really good. But when I looked at it, it was really early, but that was about a year ago. So I need to go back to it and investigate it again. But it was really promising because what I don't want to do either is release this and then have to spend a year supporting it and like digging into the emulator and figuring why it crashes on 1% of the PCs and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm rambling a bit, sorry. But this is basically what the PC version looks like today. Although the ROM it's running is way out of date. But it supports controllers, and I think. Not that controller, apparently. Yeah, so controller works, audio works. That's the other thing, too, is like implementing an audio driver. I don't really want to do that. It's the run button. Yeah. Anyway, so that's where I'm at on the PC version, but it's very low priority right now. I got to get the NES version out the door. Okay, so Jordy, that was a fighting game reference. Cool. Yeah, there is a wrapping solution for SNES Nub. If I'm understanding, well, I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question correctly. There is something called I can't remember what it's called, but there's an NES emulator that runs on the Super Nintendo. So you can take an NES ROM and basically packages it up into a Super Nintendo ROM. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking or if you mean is there a drag and drop solution to take a Super Nintendo game and put it on PC like Steam? that's probably what you mean. That would make more sense, and I have no idea. Yeah, so Drew, there are some solutions for getting NES games onto Steam. They have most of them have two major flaws. The first one is what I was talking about feeling completely unnatural. So I actually have a version on Steam right now. I won't bother bringing it up. That uses NES Bundler, which is pretty good. But yeah, there's a couple. There's NES Tech, NES Bundler, and one more that I can't remember. I think it's by say East Side Games or East Side Pixel. I can't remember. But anyway, they have two major flaws. Most of them. One is they don't feel like native PC games. They really feel like emulators. Like if you boot up one of them, it is messing. It's just basically this menu has been reduced to like three options: settings and game. I think something like that. So that's okay. Like I can probably live with that in the end. Like this game isn't going to do gangbusters on Steam or anything, so I want to invest a ton of time into it. But the second thing is they're not compatible with the Steamworks SDK because they're open source. So, which I never really, to be honest, I'm not a huge like open source guy. I know some of you guys are, but I don't really care about that stuff so much. But I know some people are pretty adamant about that. So anyway, the problem is if you use a copyleft license software, which a lot of these emulator wrappers depend on, you have to release your source to go with it. The trouble is you can't release the Steam SDK source along with your game, so it puts you in a weird position where you can't actually can't actually use the license. So like if you go on Steamworks and search for Steam open source, it'll basically say if you're using open source software, you can't publish it on Steam. So most of the time I would be like, this game's too small to care, but I know some people will care, so I don't want to do that. So that kind of like NES Tech has that problem. It's not compatible with Steamworks. I think NES Bundler is compatible. That's the only one. And then there's another one. I can't remember the name of the third one. It's not compatible. Jordy, I mean, no, I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is the releasing the source part. So if you, yeah. Anyway, here, maybe I can bring up there's like, gets brought up so much, there's a Steam page on this exact topic. So some open source is fine. Like basically if it's like MIT or something like that, where you don't have to release the source, it's fine. The trouble is that a lot of the emulator stuff is based on copyleft licenses. And Messen itself is permissible, but it's permissible. But the trouble is, it depends on some libraries that are not. So you'd have to come up with a stripped down. Sorry, my camera's all crazy. You'd have to come up with some sort of like stripped down version of Messen, which I think Sauer was like contemplating at one point, but it's not really his job to make it compatible with Steam. So anyway, that's what complicates it. But on top of that, there's also the issue of just it not really feeling like a native Steam game, which I'm not crazy about. Oh yeah, Jordy, maybe that's what you meant by forbids DRM, the copyleft stuff. I don't know. I'm not super into this stuff. So. All right, see you, Daru. Yeah, how much time have I been on here? All right, I should do some actual coding. I can't remember what I was doing now. Oh yeah, I was adding this little dot. It took me an hour. I want to put this dot next to the menu when you have money to spend, basically. I don't remember if I compiled this or not. Oh right, there's errors. XY tile. You're writing your own emulator for Orange Island, is that right? Over Gutner. That's cool. Is it NROM? Oh, right. Yeah, of course. Orange Island is a PC game to start with. Yeah, so I think being NROM will make it easier. I still think like implementing the audio engine is going to be pretty tough, but I don't know. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I never wrote an emulator. Boom. It's a little big. I don't like the colors. Let's shrink this down a bit. And what is the palette? Let's see. Maybe solid would look better. Solid red. Maybe purple outline? I don't know. Let's try it. Oh, yeah, if it's not obvious. This palette that I'm editing this image in is different than the one in game. I should just make those look the same so it's more clear what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't like that. Oh yeah, and I want it to be more like on the letter, like up here. Offset that a bit. Something like that. Oh yeah, makes sense that you're into the audio stuff, Puke. Get that. Um, Zucchino. So the game you're asking about it being written in C. So it's probably about 60-40 C and assembly right now. Um, my previous games were almost entirely C. This one, yeah, it's mostly C. Well, I wouldn't say mostly, majority C, but I did have to um, move into assembly a lot more because there's just some. You just hit performance problems much quicker on a platformer, and even then, like I do have to make some compromises in terms of design. Like I can't handle as many enemies on screen as even Super Mario Brothers One, to give you kind of a sense of the kind of limits of the engine. But yeah, like especially stuff like the menus I'm working on right now, it's awesome working in C. Doing this in assembly would be brutal. Okay, that looks cool. I don't know. What do you think? Is this noticeable? This little dot? It's supposed to mean like unread mail, essentially. Thanks, Zucchino. Appreciate it. That's probably good enough. So right now I just have it hard coded, but it should only show up essentially. I was showing it earlier, but there's this concept that you collect coins and you convert them. Sorry, you collect flowers and you convert them to coins in this shop called the Pack Shack. So when you have those flowers banked up enough, I want to put a little bang on the menu item here to kind of hint that, hey, you should go in here. And when you do, you'll get this screen where it's converting those flowers on the left to coins on the right. And then, I mean, I haven't showed this stuff too much, so it's a bit spoilery, but you use those coins to essentially buy packs of cards. The more coins you spend, the more likely you are to get a new coin, or sorry, a new card. So if I buy a card here, I got that's a bit of a secret. Okay, I won't show that. Okay, so here I got Pearl Power Sunny. So then I go here, and I go to my collection, and I got a new card here unlocked. So I hit A. That's the Pearl Power Sunny I just unlocked, and when you open it, you get a full screen image. This is actually Super Mario Deluxe had something kind of like this. Yeah, this is where all the lore will be, Jordy. I gotta work on it, but there is a little bit. Right now, it's mostly filler, filler text, but yeah, that's kind of the concept. And yeah, I think somebody mentioned, is it Pebbles? I get that. Yeah, comment a lot. Oh, Jordy said it, yeah. She does look a lot like her. She has pink hair though. I think Pebbles is blonde hair, if I remember correctly. But I don't know. By the time this, nobody knows who Pebbles is anymore. It's cool. She has her own card as well, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so you can see like the percentage at the bottom. It's 81%. So as you get more cards, another spoiler, that percentage goes down, the default percentage. So you have to spend more and more coins as you go. So initially, you're basically guaranteed your first few cards will be new, but now if I only put one coin in, okay, I just got a duplicate because I only had a 69% chance of getting a fresh one. This is basically stolen directly from Super Smash Brothers Melee, the gotcha game in that. Yeah, so oh yeah, I don't want to show those cards. There's some hidden stuff in there I don't want to show yet. All right, I won't ever show. I'll wait for people to discover that stuff. Thanks, Nub. All right. Right. So now I need to make this actually make sense. That red dot should only show up if you have enough coins to cash in, which is this logic here. Simple enough. It's funny when I like skip steps like that, thinking like, oh, I don't want to code that yet, and then when I actually go to code it, it's like, oh, that was 5 seconds to code, and I just do that. But I guess it was nice to see it 100% of the time. Yeah, so now it should only show up if I basically there's a conversion rate of flowers to coins. Right now it's 50 to 1, so the red dot will only show up if you have more than 50 coins, or else it's nothing to cash in. And I guess I should make it too, it should only show up if you don't have 100% of the cards, because it'll get annoying if that still shows up after you've 100% of the game and you can never clear that red dot. That would drive me absolutely insane. So I'll fix that as well. So yeah, so now it's not showing up because I don't have any coins to cash in, but I have a little cheat here. So I'll give myself 1,000 flowers. So now it shows up. That's cool. I don't know. Yeah, is that good? I'm not sure. Anyway, that's what it is. Do that, cash those in, so 50 to 1, get a bunch of coins. And it has a thing there, I don't know if you noticed, basically to make it satisfying, the coin exchange is like every I think 4 per second or something, like doot 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 doot. But if you have a lot, it gets super annoying. So after I think 4 seconds, it switches to giving you a coin every second, so you can get through 1,000 very quickly. But most of the time, you'll never see that. Just a little detail. Anyway. So then I cash that in, so now it's clear. Okay, that's awesome. It's working. Yep, great. You can skip it. Does that work? Yeah. Okay, so let's handle the case where you own every card. How do I detect that? Yeah, sorry, I just haven't looked at the actual card ownership code in a little bit. Can't remember how it works. Each. All right, each bit is a card. So essentially, each one is, if it's 255, which is essentially every bit set, that means you own all the cards. So I just need to check each page. I think I've done before. I don't know. Let's see. Let's do it in here so that we don't do it. It's a little bit more expensive. Just reading through the comments. Yeah, C is kind of a portable assembler. It's a portable compiler. Use a mapper for your game. Yeah, it uses MMC3. So if you're not familiar, it's basically the same mapper that Super Mario Brothers 3, Kirby, tons of games use that mapper. It's like a um, really flexible, got tons of features, pretty much everything you need. It's really like the sweet spot of functionality, but not overly complex. So yeah, I like it a lot. Um, and it's about the game is 764 kilobytes right now. I mean, it will be when I ship it as well. Okay, so you're working on something too, Sakino. That's cool. Yeah, you should give C a try. It's pretty easy to get into. I mean, you can have something on screen within minutes. There's a lot of helper libraries. I recommend checking out nestdug.com. That's kind of where I learned most of this. He's got a tutorial going through it step by step. Izzy was asking if MMC5 is any good. That's a pretty controversial question. Get a lot of good responses if you go on the NestDev Discord and ask that. I mean, it's good. It's more feature rich than MMC3. There's some downsides to it. I think the main one is I don't know if anybody is actually manufacturing MMC5 boards right now. I think, and I'm speaking a little out of my butt right now. I'm not 100% sure, but I think maybe Broke has it simulated in their FPGA one, or maybe that was what Infinite NES Lives was doing. I'm not too sure. I think if you were interested in MMC5, you would probably go with something like the Rainbow Mapper, which Broke Studios released recently. So it's a super like heavy duty mapper. That's the one that does like Wi-Fi and all sorts of stuff. So I think it probably has most features you're looking for, and it's actually being built like today. But I think if you're just looking for something that's like a good workhorse mapper, MMC3 is really good. I really like it anyway. MMC1's really good as well. It's even simpler, but it is missing a couple things. The main one I think that you would notice is scanline interrupts. So doing like parallax scrolling and stuff like that is a little more difficult on it. I mean, it's a lot more difficult. um, so here I'll show you, like, skip ahead here if you don't mind. Bit of a spoiler here. I'm going to go to the end of the game, so if you don't want to see it, close your eyes. I won't show the actual final battle, but I'll just show a little thing after you finish the battle. So like stuff like this on MMC3 is pretty easy, but on MMC1 is quite challenging. But other than that, yeah, my previous game, Witch and Wiz, was MMC1, which was pretty awesome. I'll stop it there so we don't get too many spoilers. And this is copied from Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, which I'm pretty sure is MMC3 as well. I might be wrong though. Yeah, Izzy was asking about how they're all odd numbers. It is kind of interesting. Like there is MMC2, but it was, I think, just used on Punch Out, which, yeah, I think Puke just mentioned. But obviously, yeah, super successful game. So that's cool. MMC4, I don't even know what that is. If it's a real thing. Someone in the comments probably knows. I don't think you can copyright water scrolling, but I don't know, maybe. It might be in danger. I'm pretty sure that's the least of my copyright claims in this game. Yeah, it's a pretty cool effect. It's pretty simple too. Like the actual effect is, it's basically just it's hard to see, isn't it? But this is the whole screen, and it basically is like kind of a V shape, well, perspective, and then you just scroll each line at different speeds, obviously, like parallax, but it's nothing super complex. So you can see the background isn't actually changing at all during the sequence. It's just set up in a way that works perfect, and you have to space it out just right so that the looping works properly. But once you get kind of the timing and the spacing working, and yeah, it's a really cool effect. Spoilers, I'll stop there. All right, what was I working on? Right, do you own all the cards? Easy peasy. So essentially, I have these save profile structures. So in save RAM, there's essentially 3 of these structures. So this is where I put everything that gets saved between sessions, because the save RAM is actually 8 kilobytes, which is 4 times the amount of RAM that you actually get on the NES. So generally, you don't just use it for saving. It's all the level data is in there, tons of stuff. So to keep it isolated and to make it easier to clear it out at the start of the game, save data is its own special chunk, and then everything else essentially gets treated like regular RAM. So anyway, inside there is how many cards you own, which cards you own, and that is essentially like a byte for each screen. There's 3 pages of cards. So if you owned like the first 4 cards, let's say every other card, like the byte data would look like this. I don't know if you can see that on stream. It's pretty small, but so each bit of this byte represents a card that you own. So I'm able to fit the 24 cards you can unlock in the game into 3 bytes just to save space. Which is like one of the things I really like about working on the NES is on previous games that were kind of retro inspired that I worked on, I would do stuff like this, but it felt totally unnecessary. I was just doing it because like I thought it was fun and cool. But now it actually matters, and saving, like instead of storing this as 24 bytes, like 1 for each card, storing it as 3 bytes is actually meaningful. I am out of memory, so we're very close to out of memory. I will be by the end of the project. So it's fun to actually work on something where saving bytes matters. Or if you code, like people always talk about, oh, you should do plus plus I instead of I plus plus in your loops and stuff like that. And I mean, it matters in some cases in modern games, but here, like, it actually really matters. Stuff like that. Maybe not even that, but anyway, optimizations are really important in this case, and it feels cool that it matters. All right, so to figure out how many, if you own all the cards, I basically have to loop through each page, and if it's equal to OXFF, which is basically every bit, or if it's not equal to that, that means you don't own every card. Actually, I don't need to do this at all. I'll just only draw. No, I do need to do that. So I'll assume, I'll use this temporary variable to say, like, assume I own every card. And then if I find a page where I don't own every card, I'll just say that that's false. No booleans. Let's see. So that's like that. And then break out of that loop. And then I'll only draw the, going back like 20 minutes here. But anyway, going back, if I have money and I don't own every card, then I'll draw the little circle. So if this is equal to 0, draw the bang to tell you that you got cards waiting for you. I should make it so I can give myself every card. I'll make sure the old logic for still works, and then I'll test. If I own every card, does that red dot not show up? Yeah, ints are 2 chars in CC65. That's one of my like sweet regrets, is I really should have used like the standard types, but by the time I considered it, I was way too deep in the project and I didn't want to like have half and half. So yeah, unfortunately, it confuses me. Like I still have to look it up often. Not really, but for a while there, I would have to like. There's some mental load to go. What is an int on this platform again? What is a long? Like what size is it? Because it's not standard. So yeah, but an int is 16 bits. All right. Finish compiling. And then I have it set up so that after I build, it automatically loads back into the emulator, so I don't have to like reopen it every time. In case you wonder why I was sitting there, I was just waiting for it to finish compiling. Okay, so if I go in here, I give myself some coins. I should see the red dot. I don't. Did it work? Oh, it didn't work. Let's try that again. Okay, red dot. So I should have some coins when I go in here to exchange, which I do. Awesome. After that's done, I should back out. It should be gone. Okay, good. So now I just need to test that when I have coins, but I own every card, it doesn't show up. And where can I do that? This is just the code here that wipes out a save slot. So I just changed it so that when I wipe out a save slot, instead of setting the cards owned to 0, it sets them to all owned. So to do a little, I just have to go in and out a couple times. Anyway, easy enough. So delete this one in the middle. Yeah, so you can see it's kind of a, yeah, it doesn't matter. get myself some coins. So if I did this right, I now have a bunch of coins queued up, but I have every card owned, so the red dot should not show up. Does not. But when I go in here, I should still get the coin or the flower exchange because I do actually have coins. It's just pointless at this point because I've 100% of the game. That did not work. Did that give me coins? Okay, there we go. Something weird with that debug command I have. It doesn't seem to always give me coins. But that worked. So I had coins, but it didn't show the red dot, which is what I wanted because I own every card in this debug scenario. Cool. That's pretty much all I wanted to do for that flower exchange logic. That feature is pretty much done now, which is awesome. It's one of the last kind of meta features in the game. Zoom in is killing me. Just going to submit this. Good. This is like CHR ROM viewer I wrote. Pretty happy with this. Basically, it shows diffs between CHR ROMs in Visual Studio. Fortunately, it doesn't show where the diff is, so you kind of have to do a little bit of investigation, but you can see here in the right side there, I have the little dot that I added. Cool. All right. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to stream today. Thanks to everybody who showed up. Super fun talking to you. And thanks for all the awesome questions. Yeah. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.